Hi, the following Pilates session is aimed at an intermediate level. Please make sure that you have covered all of the fundamentals previously at a beginner level before taking part to ensure that you get the most out of the session, but also that you're safe to participate. The programme will cover most areas of the body to give you an all-rounded feeling from the exercises, but please make sure to read the following disclaimer to make sure that you are safe to take part today. I hope that you enjoy the programme, and if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch. For this intermediate session, you will need a mat and a head cushion and possibly some yoga blocks if you prefer them for seated neutral positions. Now bring yourself into child's pose and use the length through the arms all the way through to the tailbone to open up through your thoracic area in your spine, and use a few deep breaths to allow the rib cage to open and expand and for the lower back to rise. And on your out breaths, then allow the engagement of the abdominals to assist in helping the breath leave the body. Now take the arms around to the right hand side and lengthen through the arms, especially through the left arm, to feel the stretch down the left side of your body. And again, take a breath or two. And then continue over to the left hand side, walking the hands over until you feel the stretch coming down the right side of the body. Again, just overreaching with that right arm. Maybe a breath or two again here before coming back into centre, and then slowly starting to scoop in through the belly and rolling the body forwards into your mini cat crawl. So you're rolling forwards as you lengthen around the spine, and then as you sink backwards towards child's pose, you soften through the elbows and allow the lower back to arch. Just repeating this just a couple of times and then changing the direction, so as we come forward, coming through that happy cat, lifting the head, arching through the back, lengthening the arms, and then driving back, feeling that roundness through the back to allow every part of the back to be stretched and mobilized. Again, lengthen into child's pose before coming up into a seated position. And we're going to use that C curve through the body, just bringing in that little bit of a J curve through the tailbone to roll the body back to lie down, one bone at a time to the floor. You can fix the head cushion into place to set yourself up into supine neutral base position. So adjust everything from the tailbone to the head to feel long. Adjust your neutral spine. If you need to go through your pelvic tilts, you can do. Lengthen through the arms. And just checking in your mind that the heels are in line with the sit bones. Now taking you into your modified 100, you can use an out breath to transition the legs one at a time into tabletop, and then curl the body up, but a long curl to bring you into your beats with your arms for your 100. As you're lengthening the arms through the fingertips, you're pressing down strongly through the arms to engage the underarm muscles. Lengthening through from the tailbone up through every vertebra in the spine, all the way up through the back of the head. Remember, with your breathing, keep it continuous. 5 beats per in-breath and 5 beats per out-breath. Holding the legs into position, either legs together, or they can be in Pilates stance with the heels together and the knees apart. Continuing to feel that length and still continuing to beat through the arms for that full 100 count or 10 breath cycles. As you finish up, release, draw the knees in, give them a hug, and rock the pelvis from side to side as a release. Slowly placing the feet onto the floor. Again, adjusting if you need to. We're going to come into your shoulder bridge position. So you can remove the head cushion for now. We're going to use the modified position with the arms. So once you're back into neutral, We're going to use that posterior pelvic tilt to slowly scoop all the way up into your ski slope position, and then float on the in-breath with those arms all the way up and over, using the out-breath to travel down and the arms floating down at the same time, so the little finger contacts as you come into neutral spine. So again, it's an out-breath to roll the spine up, articulating one bone at a time. In-breath, slowly float the arms up, keeping the neck space long, and then slowly connecting with the vertebra as you articulate the spine back down. We're going to continue with this movement, making sure that you can feel the feet are connecting well with the floor and are even, so that the knees are staying still. Just check that they don't waggle out or in, and that your neck stays long, keeping the slow flow of your breath nice and long. Feeling the length of your spine as you replace it back into neutral. We're now going to bring in the full arm action. So again, using that out breath to come to your ski slope and the in breath to travel the arms up. At this time, the out breath is still only being used for articulation of the spine back down into neutral. The in breath brings the arms back down to the starting position on the mat, little finger down. So it's a continuous flowing movement with the body traveling on the out breath and the arms traveling on the in breath. Being very sure to keep the spine articulating one bone at a time. It's very easy with this position, with the arms fully up by your ears, for the spine to come down in one portion in the lower back region. So it's being quite strong through those internal muscles to set you up into that posterior pelvic tilt on the way down, and again to fully access that full range of movement in the spine on the way up. It'll feel like a very strong lower pelvic area that's having to work here. Once you've finished from there, we'll bring you into your figure of four hip stretch. So the right foot crossed over the left knee, and you can hug through with the arms onto the left thigh and try to relax the upper body on the floor. So this should be a stretch on the outer hip on the right leg. It's just a short stretch. And then repeat on the left side, placing the left foot across the right knee and again hugging through onto the right thigh, trying to relax the upper body again. Just a few seconds of a hold. And then slowly replacing the legs back down again onto the floor. Readjusting your position, lengthening through the right side of the body to roll onto your right side for side kick, setting up your neutral base position. Once you've arranged the body into that straight line, as if you're lying in a line drawn in the sand or on a beam, then you can place the top arm onto your hip, hopefully trying to have everything aligned, all joints stacked one on top of the other, and slowly lifting the top leg into position and the bottom leg about hip height with that top foot. Holding through there, and once you feel that you've got your balance, we're going to take a step with that top leg. So whether you use an in-breath or an out-breath, that's your decision, as long as you keep the breathing consistent as the leg travels forward and backwards from your hip line. The size of the step is up to you and according to your level of ability. If you're able to maintain it, challenge yourself with a larger step or work within your limits, keeping it nice and focused in a small movement. As another challenge, you can add in bringing the top arm all the way up to rest, holding on to the wrist that's on the floor. Again, still making sure that you feel your neutral spine and that there's no counter movements taking place through the bottom leg or through the top shoulder to try to steady you. Again, use the size of your step accordingly to make it manageable, but a good quality movement. Then slowly float the arm back down, draw the knees in, give them a hug, just to bring into that recovery resting position for a moment. From there, then we're going to lengthen the legs out, rolling into a prone elbow support and just holding in that position. So elbows underneath the shoulders, about shoulder width apart. Forearms just resting in front of the elbows and long through the spine. So scooping up just a little from the hip bones and through the core muscles so that we're not dropping into the shoulders. We're trying to push down and lengthen through the upper arms as well as keep the core active to keep the lower back safe. And then bringing the hands onto the floor, we're just going to gently press up into a little bit of a cobra, using the back muscles to assist you. So you should be able to remove your hands, but then at a point, if you want to increase the range, assist with your arms to take you up. Just a brief hold. As we come down, we're setting up your prone neutral base position. So the hands can rest just level with the shoulders approximately. And then from there, with your back in neutral, core engaged, belly button pulling away from the floor, we're modifying the swan dive rock. So we're lengthening both legs to lift. And as they relax back down again, then the upper body's lifting in your cobra movement. Remember, this is a backline movement in the body. So everything in through your bottom and then through the back of the legs is lifting the legs. And then the upper body, really using those back muscles, especially in the thoracic region, to come all the way up, not extending through the head, keeping the back of the neck long and continuous with the line of your spine. To keep the back safe, be strong through your core muscles. So you're really engaging that cylinder, that powerhouse in your center to try to keep the spine in a long position so that you don't just kind of dump and hinge into the lower back. So then we're ready, we're going to transition into your prone neutral base position with your arms up. Legs are approximately hip width apart, arms straight out in front of the shoulders, thumb up. Draw the shoulders down your back, set yourself into neutral spine, and then you're lifting right arm and left leg or the opposites, mainly using that alternating movement to lift the opposite sides of the body with the head relaxed down. This prone swimming movement, keeping the head down on the floor, is aimed at again working the back line of the body, but this sling that runs across the opposite sides of the body. So just a few movements there, and then you can modify to the head up position. Now when I say head up, I want you to lift through the thoracic spine, so the chest is lifting and the neckline still stays long and open, no creases at the back of the neck. Still alternating and lifting as high as you can, challenge your body to still maintain neutral through the lower back. Again, this should feel a strong movement all the way from the heels all the way up through to the back of the shoulders. To release from there, scoop in through the belly button, press yourself back into child's pose, and you can use this as a long stretch, or you can relax the head down and soften the elbows if you choose to use it more as a relaxation point. Depends how you're feeling right now. So then from there, we're going to modify you to come in just to sitting, give yourself a hug. So we're ready to come round into your seated position again, to roll back to lie down. Set the arms out, drawn in through the shoulders as you roll through that J curve and continuing the C curve in through the back to lie down. Lengthen the left side of the body and come in again to your side kick neutral base position. Once you're lined up on that straight line again, whether it's that line in the sand or lying on the beam, with all of your shoulders, hips, knees and ankles stacked one on top of the other. So when you're ready and your hands on your side, you're lifting, engaging through the core to keep the waistline lifted, but both legs are lifting. And when you're ready to come into that side kick with a step. So you're going to find that always one side of the body is better than the other unless you're extremely balanced. So this is definitely my challenging side. So from there again, use this challenge to try to work through it and maintain the stability while you're maneuvering the top leg as far as you feel that you can go, but still maintain your balance. From there then, we can take the arm up, still continuing the same movement. This may feel like more of a challenge. For me, I find this definitely a little bit more supportive. I feel like I engage my muscles more throughout my core with the arms overhead. Again, lengthening all the way, whether it's from the toes or the heels. You don't have to come into a full toe point, but trying to keep that bottom leg steady as the top leg travels forwards and backwards. Then slowly bringing everything down, resting into the recovery position. Again, just a brief moment, just to take a breather. And then from there, we're going to bring you up, just pressing with the arms to bring you up into a seated position again. from there, as we're sitting nice and tall, bringing the arms in front, so shoulders are engaged across the back wall, so we're not reaching too far in front, and you're in with the rib cage and holding into neutral. We're modifying the roll up at intermediate level just to go through the full movement with bent legs. So you use that C curve all the way down with your spine. It starts with the J curve at the pelvis and continues down one bone at a time to lie the spine down onto the mat. The arms then float overhead, if you can, with your range of movement to touch the floor with the thumbs, and as those arms reach the vertical again, then slowly peeling the head off the floor to roll the spine up one bone at a time to come into your seated neutral. Now all the way through this, you're aiming to try to keep the heels on the floor. Hopefully no lifting. That's where every time something feels hard through this movement, more of a focus should be placed on those core muscles. That feeling of drawing in, maybe using an out breath as you travel up with the spine, drawing in through that out breath and then lifting tall into seated neutral, in breath to prepare, and then the out breath to help with the abdominal engagement as you roll back down again. Keeping the movement continuous. An in breath as you rest at the top briefly, and as the spine makes it to the floor, that in breath to allow the arms to travel up and over, being aware that the back of the ribs or neutral spine shouldn't be altered as you're in that lying position. Now, if this does feel like too much of a challenge for you, then you can always modify a little bit more, not taking it all the way to the floor, rather than forcing through with too much in terms of a throw through the arms as you come up. Sometimes it is better to work just with a smaller range of movement, maybe doing half the number of repetitions on your bottom half of the movement from the floor, or maybe doing half from the top, and just rolling back to your sticking point. Finishing up there, we're into the butterfly. Just give a little bit of a rock of those legs as you hold on to the feet, allowing the knees to draw open. And then just a little bit of a press with the forearms on the inner thighs just to give a little bit of a stretch. And then coming into seated neutral, an L-sit position with the legs long and straight out in front. You can have the feet together so there's a little bit of inner thigh engagement, or you can have the feet hip width apart. Remember, with the spine, you're in seated neutral on top of your sit bone, so the ribs are drawn in. And as you lengthen through your spine, your nose should be intersecting directly halfway through the arms, which are in the Cossack position. One arm placed directly on top of the other. Shoulders should still remain in the sockets, and use the out breath to rotate, making sure you don't feel anything further at the shoulders. This is an oblique movement around your sides and also the rotatories through your spine. So each time you're rotating, you're trying to make sure the arms stay relaxed. The head position, we're not turning, we're just keeping the movement focused around your waist. You can always keep a little eye out for your feet, making sure that as you turn, one leg doesn't get longer than the other. Now, as an extra challenge, you can always flex the feet so the toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. If your range of movement in through the back of the legs, your hamstrings and your calves allow, you can still sit in seated neutral from here. But if it causes you to slump, keep the feet relaxed and maybe even soften the knees. Now, once you've done those movements, 5 to each side, then we're going to move from there again into butterfly, just a soft rock, and again a little bit of a stretch in butterfly. So you can use the forearms to press down on the inner thighs, and if you need to, you can lean forward, not rounding through the back but lengthening through the back as your sit bones move backwards. Now coming into the Spider-Man bent leg stretch. And as you work through this stretch, the right foot is coming to the outside of the right hand. You're allowing those hips to sink open, but keep the back long. Now, as an advancement on that, you can straighten up the back leg, taking the back knee off the floor, if that's where you feel like your body belongs for this stretch. It's just a dynamic stretch, just to try to keep that range of movement open as you finish this session. And again, on the other side, you can work with the bent leg, keeping the knee on the floor, or you can progress to the straight leg. We're just going to do one more on each side. And again, maybe a 5-second hold, could even be up to 10 seconds. If you have more time, you could hold them for a little bit longer to try to gain a little bit more range through this active stretch. Still keeping the shoulders engaged down your back. Keeping the back nice and long and the back of the neck nice and long as you keep the hips open. So from there, we're going to draw you backwards into child's pose, maybe taking the knees a little bit further apart and folding through the hips, relaxing the head onto the floor. Then take the arms around to the right hand side again as they're lengthened. Reach through that left arm especially, and maybe even if you need to, take a breath to open and expand the ribs there. Then taking the arms to the left, again repeat this, whether with one breath, open up the rib cage, allow that stretch to enter in on the right side. As you draw back into centre, just fold the arms, take the head resting onto the hands, take a couple of breaths and think to yourself how good your session was. You did well. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed your workout.